Hey everyone, it's Jim
and Charles
from Mellow Amps, and in this episode we're going to install the main PCB to, well, you can't see it, but the top plate. But before we can do that, we have to do a little prep work. So we're going to make up these leads here, the white, the red, the green, white, and the red. And what these are is the signal leads that bring the signal in, where you plug in your RCA jacks, to the pot, and where they come out of the pot and they enter the circuit, very close to the first grid of the 6N1P, or the gain tube. And we're also going to have to size and prep the high voltage blue wires and the center tap ground wire, which is for the filament. We'll do that last though. So
yeah. And we have to make a tiny little ground strap here for the Alp spot as well, but that won't take long.
Okay, so let's get started with those wires. Okay, so go ahead and grab your white, your red, and your green wire, and your red, white, and green shrink. And the white and red wires are all going to be cut to a rough length, so they'll be oversized. So you're going to cut them to about 6 inches or about 155 millimeters. It doesn't have to be precise, just close. The green wire is going to be a little different. So you're going to cut it to about 5 inches, and that's going to leave you 5 inches or about 128 millimeters. That's going to leave you this little piece, which we're going to need. So that's 3 inches or about 77 millimeters. So why don't we make up the green wire first, and it's going to be really quick. So let's go and grab some tools. Okay, so what we need to do is to put a terminal on one end, and we're going to strip back a length of wire that's about double the barrel length on here, maybe double and a little tiny bit. Oops, we just lost focus for a second. The camera doesn't like looking at certain backgrounds. And then we're going to fold this wire back, and what that does is double the contact surface inside here, makes for a better fit. Going to get our trusty crimper. We'll load the eye like that, and we're going to just get it started. And then we're going to make sure we're poking through just a little bit, because it will get shrunk slightly during the crimp. See that? And now, notice how we got a really brilliant crimp in the front, but not in the back. So we're going to actually move the crimp die down a little bit towards the rear of our ring terminal, and we're going to put a second crimp. And you can test it, but that is just going to be perfect. So let's get a piece of shrink on, and let's shrink that on, and then let's get some wires installed. Okay, so we're going to do something really quick. We're going to strip one end back of all of these wires, and this one we're going to be tinning in a minute.
So it should be a little bit longer, but the other ones are going to go through the PCB, so they can be fairly short.
But a little extra length isn't going to hurt either, because we're going to be able to, we'll snip them after we install them. So you just don't want to go crazy with your length. Now, make sure you give them all a good twist, and
I'll see you back here in a second.
Okay, so the first thing you'll notice is I'm back onto a nice cotton towel. You don't want synthetic, but we've got, some really nice gold-plated RCA jacks. We don't want to scratch them up or muck them up. So the first thing you should know about where the wires go is we have 2 ground connections that are not used. We've got an L, which is for left, which is the white wire, a red, which is an R, which is red. I knew I was going to screw that up. We have the ground connection over here that we are going to use, and we have another R for red or right, and another L for left or white.
These ones are going to the Alps pot as per the label, and these ones are coming from the Alps pot as per the labels.
Okay, so I've got my soldering iron already on the bench and warmed up. We're going to try, I think, for 360 C, which is about 680 Fahrenheit. I do a lot of soldering at that temperature, and we're just going to take our time and get these wires in logically. Now, it helps a little bit that the wire is oriented in the direction it's going to go, right? It's going this way. So that's not a bad thing to do. And we're going to put a little bit of flux. We're just starting for the day, so we're trying to get a few things organized on the bench. And notice how the wire is not fully seated in the, can you see that? There, you can see it now. See how it's not all the way down? You don't want it really all the way down because we're going to put a bit of shrink on that in a minute. So,
and it just makes it easier to solder in from this side.
Yeah, it makes for a neater job. Okay, and we're going to come back to the other side in a minute. Let's do one more here so you can really get a handle on this. Now these wires all carry the signal, so we want to do a nice, neat, thorough job. Again, notice how the wire is basically leaning in the direction it's going to go. It'll just make it a little easier to do wire lead dress later on. Okay, and I'll show you the ground wire too if I can find it. So that's your green wire, and that's going to go over here to G. Charles even has arrows on the board saying to Alps, from Alps. It's almost like a greeting card that you put on our board. Maybe not.
To Alps, from Alps, we hope you enjoy the music.
Yeah, well, great music is about to come. Okay, so I'm going to finish up the last two, and then I'll see you back, and yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at our wires. White over here on the L, a red wire on the R, green wire on the G, red wire on the R, and over here we've got the white wire on the L. And you'll notice over here, these wires are going to come around like this to the pot. So you see how I've soldered them so they're basically leaning this way. If you miss that, don't fuss. You're going to be able to do some lead dress and get the wires in place. In fact,
and you can just heat up that solder point and turn them a little bit if you need to.
That's right. You could do this. Let's say this wire was facing in the wrong direction. You could come in like this. You put a drop of solder on your tip. Watch out. These things will melt. So stay away from them. You could heat that up, and while you're holding the wire, and just bend it in the right direction that you want it. So you could recover. Okay, now we're not quite finished. Let's flip over the board. And this is probably why leaving a little bit of extra lead makes life easier, because now
they're easier to spot.
Now you can see them coming through the board, and just look to see if you've got full solder flow through. And wow, okay, I think.
And we've got two right next to the switch in here that you have to watch for. We can't quite see that on camera. Let's see, get that in focus. And yeah, it looks like we have good flow through in all of them.
Okay, so before we finish up, what I want you to do is carefully come in.
Here, let me get that over here.
And just nip these wires off. Now, if you've got a bunch of stray wires in a bundle, you can, if they're really small, just capture them with your needle nose and get them over to the garbage can. And this one here, I can't even get in that way. So I'm going to come in this way like this. And you don't need to You don't need to snip these right hard tight to the board. You want to leave, you've got a little bit of a solder mound on the bottom side of the board that will give you a solder joint on both sides. Now, when we snipped off the little nubbins that was there, we found that we actually didn't have a very good solder on the other side. So you should fill in the back sides here, or what is the bottom side of the board. So it's easy peasy. You know what you're doing now.
Just be careful that the wire doesn't pull out or that there's any tension on it. Oh, we're completely out of focus here too. But you should know what you're doing there.
Okay, and so go around and check them before you snip them and make sure that you filled in the solder a little bit on the backside. And yeah, okay, excellent. What's next? Now the fun bit. So let's get a little piece of shrink. This is about 1/2 inch, or even a little less than 1/2 inch. It's not a critical dimension.
Roughly 15 millimeters or so.
Oh, it would be closer to 12 millimeters, I think. Yeah. So you won't need a piece of shrink on your ground, your green wire, because it's got a single PVC jacket, but the white and red wire is our favorite hookup wire, and it's got 2 layers of braid with the outer braid silicone, so it's a very durable wire.
And if you don't seal the ends of them, they have a tendency to fray.
Okay, so just take your time and get in there and shrink them up.
Okay, do the rest of them, and we'll see you back here in a minute.
Okay, so it's time to get some of the standoffs. So grab 4 of the big brass standoffs and some M3 by 8 truss head machine screws, and they're going to go. See if I got a pointer here somewhere.
There you go.
So they're going to go here, 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 and here. So all towards the front. We actually have 4 that'll go to the back, but not right now.
They mount slightly different, and you want to make sure they are on this side of the board, so the side that does not have the sockets, but does have the big capacitors.
Okay, so there's really nothing to it. We're just going to
Zoom out just a little bit here, so it's easier for people to see. There we go.
Just going to snug them down for the moment, and then we're going to tighten them up in a minute. So. And we got the 2 in the middle. And 1 more down here. And I think you guys know how to tighten these up, so
yeah,
okay.
Just needs a 5mm or a 3/16 socket and a Phillips driver.
Okay, hop to it, everyone. Okay, so this is what your standoffs look like and how they're located.
Now you don't want to tighten these down fully with the wrench with full torque on them, but you do want to get on there with the screwdriver while you're holding the socket with the other side and really snug them down.
Yeah, this is brass and it is an M3 fastener, so watch the amount of torque you apply to it, or you could strip them out. Just be careful. Be gentle.